Hey everyone, we're diving into the world of cloud storage today, beyond just backup and what's needed to take storage to the next level with Backblaze. Pat, how are you?
I'm well, Evan. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for being here. Let's dive right in, maybe talk about Backblaze and your core mission and solution and how you fit in this very busy and crowded landscape of cloud storage these days.
Right. Well, Backblaze was founded 2007, so quite a while ago now. And the original mission was for ordinary people to be able to back up their Macs and PCs. And we had five co-founders that bootstrapped the company from this idea of affordable backup, having I think originally it was $5 per month for unlimited data, because most people, you know, we know how many gigabytes we have stored on our laptops. Most people don't know the difference between a gigabyte and a megabyte or how many they have. And so their idea was like, let's make this a service and you pay $5 a month and we back up your data. And in 2016, they introduced Backblaze B2, our cloud object storage offering. And in 2020, introduced the S3 compatible API on that. And that's really where adoption lifted off, because all of those off-the-shelf tools and SDKs that use Amazon S3 work with Backblaze B2. So there we IPO'd, I think just over 3 years ago, towards the end of 2021. And it's pretty incredible. Between founding and IPO, I think they took about $5 million of funding, which is,
Wow.
I mean, I would love $5 million, but apparently it's not a lot for that process. And where we are now, we've got over 500,000 customers, over 3 exabytes of customer data under management. And last quarter, we signed 2 7-figure deals with customers. So from charging individuals $5 a month, we're now up to, working with large enterprises spending in the millions of dollars, per year or over, 2 or 3 years.
Brilliant. Well, let's talk about the large enterprise market where there's a lot of opportunity and challenges around data protection and security.
Mm-hmm.
And, everyone who understands ransomware and how it works and cyber threats knows that, securing your data protection is fundamental to avoiding those catastrophic data breaches and losses that we read about in the paper every day. So how do you see yourself fitting there? And, how do you add value to those, enterprise clients who are facing these threats?
Sure. So there's 2 sides to this. There's the like the technology and the functionalities that supports that, and then there's how Backblaze is different. So and there's a contrast there, because on the functionality side, we're very much the same. It's the same APIs, like the object lock functionality, where you can say on a file by file basis, this file cannot be deleted until this date. And there's literally no instruction you can tell us. There's no support call you can open that will delete that data. And that integrates with the corresponding functionality in backup tools. So Veeam, you'll see it called immutability, where you can back up your server and say, okay, this cannot be deleted for 3 months, and it can be extended after that 3 months, but you can't turn it off. And really, that's the key to that cybersecurity ransomware protection, because even if some piece of malware were to somehow infiltrate your system, obtain the keys that you use to back up data to Backblaze B2, it can't delete those immutable backups, that object lock. There's just no instruction you can send to us that will cause us to delete that data. So that's pretty industry standard. The S3 APIs become like a de facto cloud storage standard. And then looking at what makes Backblaze different, we are very cost effective for those backups. It's $6 per terabyte per month. It's a fraction of the cost of Amazon S3 and the other hyperscalers. And particularly for this backup data, that's a very compelling offering for a lot of enterprises, where they realize just how much money they're spending with AWS.
Yeah, cloud sprawl and storage sprawl is a real challenge, and so it looks like you're known for your transparent pricing, and I guess you interwork or interoperate with all the hyperscalers, whether it's Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. These days, it really doesn't matter for you and your customers.
Yeah, I mean the reality is that all of the off-the-shelf and custom products all tend to use the Amazon SDKs, and we are API compatible. So whether you use those SDKs, whether you write directly to the endpoints, we just work the same as Amazon S3. It's not a complete clone. There are little corners where there are different functionality, but for the 99% case, you change, you create a Backblaze account, a bucket, an application key, and you configure your, the product that you're using. And the key thing is you need that custom endpoint to say, okay, you're working with Backblaze B2.com rather than Amazon AWS.com. And then as far as from the tool you're using, whether it's a backup product or a media asset management system or a custom app, it just looks exactly the same.
Brilliant. Well, that's good for customers for sure. Speaking of which, certain industries have, really compelling needs right now for backup and recovery. I'm thinking healthcare in particular. But where are you seeing, most growth, most traction, most need across different industries these days?
Yeah, I mean, it's so obviously backup and archive has always been like the backbone of the business. But very quickly we found that there's a much wider use case for cloud object storage. So we have a lot of customers working in media and entertainment, where it's not just an archive for like footage, it's actually their working storage. So they're uploading footage as it's being captured into Backblaze B2, and then their tools, whether it's a media asset manager or the Adobe tools, are accessing Backblaze B2. So it's their working storage that they're collaborating around. And then we have what we call application storage customers, where their actual core business revolves around storage. So a great example is we have a customer that does security cameras for commercial premises. And one of the options you have with their product is upload footage to the cloud. So we have, I think now in the order of tens of thousands of cameras sending footage directly into Backblaze B2. So it doesn't bounce through, our customers' systems. The cameras are sending data directly to Backblaze. And then, if their customer, one morning, the alarm went off at 10:30 last night, I want to review the footage, that Backblaze customers portal lets them log in, and then it's calling our APIs to bring back the bit of video footage, maybe download it as an MPEG. And, that's a growing area for us. customers who are actually have data-centric applications that are based around Backblaze, and that's a trend we're seeing now as we've seen the growth of AI over the past couple of years. We have customers with throughout the whole AI lifecycle, from training to inference, log data, every conceivable point, checkpoints, every conceivable point in the AI data lifecycle. Our customers are using Backblaze, and sometimes we're surprised by the what we're seeing here. That I wrote up an internal document explaining, and this was some time ago. This was over a year ago. How customers are using Backblaze for AI. And the number of times I've had to go back and revise things as we talk to more customers, and they're like, "Oh, well, actually, we're you have this training process where it's really interesting." Actually, I went to GTC, the NVIDIA conference last year, and heard this training process described. And these are big systems with many GPUs. And it's actually tough to keep them running for any length of time. There's always something going wrong. You've got so many components in the system. So these systems regularly take checkpoints. So training a model can be a weeks-long exercise. And if it fails, 2 weeks into the 4-week training, you really don't want to go back to the start. So they'll take a checkpoint, every hour, every half hour, something that they can pick up. And we saw customers uploading the checkpoints into Backblaze, and it makes complete sense. But it will, from looking at it from our point of view of, okay, how's this going to work? It's just something we hadn't considered. And so, our customers are constantly surprising us with, how they're using our platform.
I can imagine. And you work internationally as well, where you get into lots of interesting and hairy situations with data sovereignty and other regulations. I imagine you have to help navigate all of those global issues as well.
Yeah. We have US East and US West regions, so several data centers in US West, one in US East. We have our EU Central in Amsterdam, and just I'm not sure if we've officially announced it. We announced that we were doing it, but we've opened our Canada East region in Toronto. So, and that was in response to Canadian customers or Canadian prospects saying, "I would love to use you guys, but I can't because it's south of the border." Yeah, so we opened our Toronto data center like literally over the holidays.
Brilliant. So, any advice for business or technical leaders looking to kind of get started with a more modern cloud storage strategy? I mean, how quick can you move? What are some of the pitfalls or roadblocks that might need to be overcome, and move into this new era?
Well, I would say, first of all, it depends on how much data you have. It depends on the use case. On the one extreme, if a big company with a lot of moving parts, probably best giving us a call. We've got a great sales engineering team. Our system engineers are very experienced in looking at cloud architectures and figuring out, okay, how can this work better than it does right now? But then on the other end of the spectrum, we've had self-service customers that have run, their own POC and just migrated to Backblaze. We've got a really interesting customer, Amplify Data. They're called. They do a data distribution platform, and it's built around Snowflake. That's their data hub, and their product is SaaS providers can incorporate that data hub kind of portal into their site so that you can give analysts access to data in a number of different formats, and it does like clever things like zero copy joins across different Snowflake accounts. But the 80/20 case for data analysts is, can I download a CSV file? And they were on Amazon S3. They had their startup credits. And when they burnt through those, they discovered that, wow, this storage stuff is quite expensive. And we discovered this all after the fact. I was looking through our logs, and I noticed some data coming from Snowflake. I wonder what's happening there. And I got in touch with the literally the holder of the email on the account, and sent an email saying, I'm really interested in how you're using Snowflake. You probably used the article I wrote on how to do it. But it turned out that they literally just found us through a Google search and got it working just by creating an account, a bucket, application key, setting up their software to point to us instead of S3. And the CTO said it was 2 weeks from having the idea to being in production. So that's at one end of the spectrum, where it's a startup with a well-defined product that has like one route into the storage, Snowflake exporting files into Backblaze B2. But yeah, in general, the data migration is very straightforward. It's the devil's in the details around that. It's when you start talking about, okay, well, where's the data coming from? Is there a cost to get the data from, my hyperscaler, for example, into Backblaze B2? And then is there a better place I could be, generating that data than, say, AWS, where I've got to pay 9 cents per gigabyte to get it
Still
out
charging, still overcharging after all these years. Imagine that. Sorry, my friends at AWS, but
so
we won't go too deep into that. I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's,
we sometimes it's a simple. Okay, we just move the storage and change the endpoint URL, and it it just carries on working. And then sometimes it's, well, actually, let's move the compute to say Vultr, one of our compute partners, where we have a bandwidth agreement, so there's no data transfer charges. Let's move our CDN to Fastly, and do a re-architecture that ends up being something quite different, and sometimes an order of magnitude more cost effective. And we call that approach the open cloud, where you're not just locked into a hyperscaler for everything, that you can pick and choose technologies from providers. So maybe your storage from Backblaze, your CDN from Fastly, GPUs from say CoreWeave, and we've got those partnerships. And I've part of what I do, we didn't talk about who I am and what I do, but part of what I do as chief technical evangelist is writing those recipes and reference architectures and code samples to show, okay, this is how you get things hooked up and run your compute here and your storage here and your CDN, and it all comes together into a solution.
Wonderful. Best of Breed is still alive and well. And I assume I'm a small fish, but I assume I can just get my credit card out myself and sign up and stop paying. No credit card. Well, stop. Certainly Apple asks for my credit card for storage every 3 months. I need to upgrade, or Google Cloud.
You can get started with an email address, and we give you 10 gigabytes to play with for free, and that first crazy. 10 gigabytes is all 10 gigabytes is always free. And then when you want to say make a bucket public, that's the point at which we say, okay, we need to know a bit more about you. So take $1 off your credit card just to kind of like make that link. And obviously when you go above that 10 gigabytes, that's when you're into the pay as you go And then we have, like variable costs don't work for everybody. So as well as the pay as you go, we have a capacity based pricing called B2 reserve. And that tends to be, when we're in those enterprise deals with the sales team, and it's not just an individual putting their credit card down. We're talking about sometimes petabytes of data.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, one day I'll be at the petabyte level. Until then, thanks for joining. Really intriguing. I'm here at CES, and probably a big consumer demand still. I know you're focused on the enterprise, but lots of opportunities as we seem to be consuming and creating infinite amounts of content these days. Thanks so much, Pat, for joining. Really appreciate your insights and chatting.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. And I hope to see you again sometime.
And thanks, everyone, for listening, watching, and sharing. Take care.